All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to jump right in to the first of three meetings with Public Safety and Commissioner Herb Brockington.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to call tonight's public safety meeting to order with item number 1A, which is a receipt of the report from our police chief, Chief Slavin.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody fared well with the weather today. Attached is the December of 2024 activity report for the police department. You can see it as a year-end wrap-up. Our total calls for service are up from previous years. And some of the same items we've been dealing with have continued to stay relatively the same. Retail theft being the one I'm mentioning with you in December. So as far as traffic goes, traffic continues to be an issue. The numbers are down a little in December there due to several factors. We have been back out in January with several speed enforcement details in our township, throughout the township. We've been focusing on problem areas in Glenside and Wyncote, and on the east side of our township as well, specifically, and then along New York Road corridor as well, is where we've been out recently. So we'll continue to do that. We have ramped things up again in 2025. We'll continue to do so as well with that, understanding that that's a priority for us, and our officers will be out there doing speed enforcement. So please slow down in our community.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Chief, I noticed that with the bus patrol, it looks like those numbers are down a little bit. I kind of counted the number of days in December. It looks like you're doing about 27, 28 per day now, at least in December.
Yeah. I think that number's a little skewed as well because the kids were out of school for parts of December as well. So
right.
We'll look again at that number again as we get into the new year. That number, as you know, to me, is a concern. We're taking steps to address that, to try to decrease the number of violations that are occurring there. So we'll keep an eye on that moving forward into 2025 as well. But that number's down a little bit from where it was prior to the previous public safety meetings we've had. It was up pretty high. The numbers are down now in this report based on the fact that the school students were only in for a short period of time out there. The bus wasn't in for the whole month.
Right. Any questions from the commissioners at all? Commissioner Ziegler.
Thank you, Chief. Really not about your report, but I do have a question. I got both an email and a phone call today regarding some tickets that were issued, parking violation notices, and given they were not in areas that are quote unquote the snow emergency routes, and I'm wondering if there's some recognition and forgiveness when you have a day like today where there's challenges about parking and snow, that are we routinely maintaining, the parking ordinances, et cetera, even on a day like this, that you have some challenges, particularly one is from one of the landlords, the other is from a local resident who both received tickets. So I'm wondering what in fact is there, in terms of a recognition on a snow day like this, that there's got to be a little bit of dispensation for folks that are, unable to find better parking, or, that they've gotten caught up in it.
Commissioner, if you could have them reach out to me, or reach out to us tomorrow, police department, we can look at their circumstance and what issues they're specifically talking about. Parking enforcement is another thing that we're stepping up in this town as well. That was an edict that was received, and that was handed down to our officers to get out there and do parking enforcement as well. But to answer your specific question, I'm not sure what exactly they're dealing with. If they could give us a call, we maybe could walk them through that and see what the issue was with the particular issues you had just mentioned.
Thank you, Chief.
Commissioner Rappaport.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, this doesn't come under the report itself, but I have a question about enforcement. An issue came up over the last, I guess, couple of months on a road where there is a substantial, maybe not an 18-wheeler, but a very large truck parked in a driveway, a residential area. And apparently code enforcement has put a number of violations and warnings on that vehicle, and nothing has happened. When does, other than when a vehicle is parked illegally on the street, when do the police get involved in that kind of or continuing violations that just don't get done?
Yeah, in that particular instance, Commissioner, the code enforcement is the proper avenue for that. I've spoken to the manager about this specific issue that you're referring to there. We are aware of that. I saw your email regarding that as
Okay,
well, and action has been taken, and there has been citations issued to that person that owns that vehicle. As far as that goes, it's in the right place right now. As far as enforcement goes with code enforcement, we would be involved with it if it was parked on a public street. A little different when it's parked on private property there. And that's the mechanism we have here to address that, is through code enforcement.
okay, thank you. We can pursue it offline then with them. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Chief, I have one more thing that I want to add that's not a part of this. It's concerning our elementary schools, all of them in reference to drop-off and pickups. I get calls from Cheltenham Elementary about the issues with most of our parents not parking right, making U-turns, just doing stuff that's not right. And my concern is that when we change to actually having the fifth graders go to the elementary schools, it's going to get worse, because then you're going to have another group of parents picking up their fifth graders. I'm going to come to you for support to try to get our school district to maybe do some type of traffic study at their schools to see if there's a better way for pickup and drop-offs for kids.
Commissioner, if I could just comment on that. I received that email as well, email you received with that.
Mm-hmm.
For once, we were one step ahead of it. Officer Stephanie Pappas was out there the morning of that email, and actually had called that specific complainant back following that.
Yeah.
This is an issue we've been seeing over at that location, right?
Yeah.
They had staff out there assisting with traffic and moving parents along that seemed to be addressing the issue there. The parents have been responsive to that. They took that person out, or for whatever reason, that person wasn't out there anymore. And now we're back to it again without someone there. So I believe there's been conversations with the school and itself to say, can we bring that person back out again to have some representative from the school out there that the parents know and, can help move them along, or they hire a detail or have an officer out there. They did it before when we had issues out there. So there's a couple things we're looking at with that is in the works right now. And if you give us a day or so on that, I can get back to you on that, where we are specifically with that. But for once, we seem to be on top of that one. Before I even got that email, our officer was out there. Our community response unit guys were out there as well. So they're monitoring that situation. We're working with the school to try to fix that. But that's my understanding of right now. They took that person out of there that was out there that was acting as a deterrent, seemed to having that effect.
Okay.
That person got moved or was out sick. I'm not sure of the circumstances behind that, but that person was no longer there. We're right back to where we were prior.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just know when at fifth grade.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, definitely. Any other questions for our chief? And actually, I'm going to do something. I'm going to actually open it up to any residents that has any questions for our chief. All right. So I'm going to call for the approval of item 1A, our police chief report for December 2024. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, chief.
Thank you,
Now
sir.
we're going to move on to our fire marshal, Scott Lynch. Mr. Lynch.
Good evening, commissioners and everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Do we have any questions on my submitted report?
Questions? Scott, do you want to just give a short synopsis on the update, as if any residents knew what was going on in reference to the spill that we had in the township?
Okay, so shortly after 3 o'clock this morning, the Elkins Park Fire Company was sent to 8102 Brookside Road for an odor of gas. While they were en route, they were told, the resident called back and said they smelled the gas in the house and out of the house. They got there, they realized immediately it wasn't natural gas, it was gasoline. They went behind the house to the creek and found the gasoline, a good amount in the creek. So Brian called for me. I went out. I sent them to the township yard in case one of the tanks or something went bad. Start there. That's our closest source. Nothing. Kyle Dermer, Public Works was out. He actually called me and he said he found it. We found it at the gas station there at York and Star. What had happened was a Tuesday evening, about 10 o'clock, a tanker was there, made a 5,000 gallon fuel delivery. Another tanker showed up at 3 a.m. There was a miscommunication between the delivery company. Second truck showed up at 3, figuring he's making a 5,000 gallon delivery. He got to about 80, 90 gallons. All the alarms went off, the overflow. He shut everything off, realized what he did, threw some oil dry down in the driveway, packed his truck up and left. So it immediately went down the driveway, and right at the end of the driveway, on York Road's the inlet. That inlet runs underneath all the businesses between Star and Church, and then underneath the Public Works facility, and discharges into the creek by Shoemaker and Forest. So that's how it got into the creek so quick. We had additional resources come out as far as DEP, the hazmat team, a representative from them. The county came out with a representative, and we sent the fire company to different areas to put our booms out that we got from the township yard, and we deployed them in different areas. Everything was said and done. Fire guys went home somewhere around 6:15. DEP was there. We were out driving around. We checked the one site where the boom was shortly before 8, and the gas had got past it because it was so saturated. So called the fire company back out, and we put 3 more areas up. We ended up, it ended up in a pooling at the new footbridge at Tookenny and New Second, by the trail right there. So DEP, we got a hold of Lewis Environmental through the owner of the trucking company. They came out. They had more better booms and things like that. We deployed them in all of our areas. They put wetsuits on, and they actually went into the creek there at Tookenny New Second and built up their dams and started their process. They brought their vac truck out. We sucked out the overfills for the tanks on site, and then they started cleaning the parking lot up. They flushed out everything all the way from York and Star to Shoemaker underground, and then they were going to take their measures throughout the creek to where it was collecting. Fish and Game was also notified. As of noon time today, there was about 6. The report was to me 6 fish that the Lewis guys and DEP had seen that had died from this. So the owner of the trucking company was on site, and after some of my charm, he decided to get out of bed and come down. He brought his checkbook with him, as I instructed him to, and he's working out the bill with Lewis Environmental. Tomorrow, Lewis Environmental will be at our township yard replacing all of the equipment we used, and then they'll bill the owner for that. So our supplies are getting done. I've worked with Lewis Environmental. I'm working with DEP. They showed me, we were talking a little bit, they showed me where to go. We are able to bill for the volunteers' times, their apparatus, my time, my vehicle, Kyle, whatever was involved in this from the township, we should be able to fully recover. And the manager of the gas station was cooperative. He understood why he was closed until this was cleaned up. The business was able to reopen a little after 3 today. So there will be follow-up tomorrow. Lewis is going to contact me and Al Sergio when they come down. We'll work with them on whatever they need, and then they'll continue the cleanup. The booms are going to be in the creek probably a good week. They'll check it every other day, and they will change them out as needed. I bought through Allison when I talked to her at about 8:30. We decided, we called Samantha Brinker, our MS4 stormwater management coordinator. She came in. I picked her up at the township building. She was involved in this at the scene. We visited all the sites where the booms were through the creek and everything like that. So she's up to date on everything. And whatever reports she has to do, she'll work with DEP and Lewis. So all the players that needed to be involved in this were involved in this. So other than that, that's where we're at. And I'm pretty sure I covered everything in the email I sent to the commissioners earlier this evening. But if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you. Well done, Scott. Thank you for your staff, with the volunteer firefighters and everything that you guys have done, and Public Works, who was also out there helping out.
Yeah, they
during the storm.
They were key. Kyle was key. He was able to get booms out to us right away and still maintain his job with the plowing and the storm and all that. Later in the morning, Bo was able to come out, meet with me, Lewis, DEP, and all that on site. So he's aware of everything with the creek and everything going on. So, like I said, everybody that needed to be involved was involved. And we got this well in hand. There was the emergency management team put a post up on their page about the aroma, and if you smelled it, because it was strong in the area for a long time. Later in the afternoon, I did ride the entire route that we followed for the spill, and there was no aroma of gasoline at all. There was a little bit at New Second and Tookenny because it was kind of pooling.
Yep.
But Lewis was there. They were in the creek, and they said you're going to have a little bit there, but we were able to, again, Lauren was able to get it up on our site. So we got notification out as quick as we could. The important thing, might have been a little slow getting the notification out, but the important thing was making sure our explosion levels were way down, especially under all the businesses on York Road between Star and Church and under the Public Works facility.
Yeah.
The last thing we needed was with the high levels of explosives. I didn't need another problem with that. So that was a primary concern for us. That's why it kind of took me a little while to get a hold of the manager, but that was the concern.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott, for a follow-up. Commissioner Zygmunt.
Thank you. Two questions, Scott. First of all, how do you know how much spillage there was? Was that reported by the trucking company who was responsible for the overflow and the spillage?
Yes. So they set the meter for 5,000, and it only had 80 on it when he shut it off. So now, mind you, not much of that went into the tank. It all went into the overflow, set all the overflow alarms off, and dumped out down the driveway and into the system. So when Lewis Environmental was cleaning up the parking lot, they actually sucked out the fuel of the overflow, and the spout, where the fill is, there's a neck down to the tank, and that's probably about almost a 4-foot neck, and that was filled with gasoline. So.
And will Lois also report on the environmental impact? Because there's obviously short term, but there's also some extended term. That is a very caustic and toxic substance that goes into the creek and is going to be absorbed, in the creek bed and in some of the sediment, as well as, in the riverbank. So I'm wondering if there's an evaluation, because there's a cost of cleanup that goes beyond just the initial incident.
Yes. So between DEP and Lewis, I'll be receiving reports on this. And then speaking with DEP and Lewis this afternoon, this is their initial cleanup. And then they will be checking this, on an every 2-week basis. Lewis told me they're going to take, especially around Tookenny New Second, where it was pooling, they'll be taking soil samples and everything like that. So also, Chief, one of the officers was on site with us for a couple hours. So I'll get with Lieutenant O'Neill, with your permission. We'll calculate her hours and everything like that. That'll be incorporated into bill. We're going to recover for her time too.
Thanks, Scott. I know a number of my neighbors thought that they smelled something. So it was, it's funny because it was pooling that took it a new second.
Yeah, it actually made it past there a little bit. We actually have a boom set up in the area, the training area, in
Okay,
that area. So
good, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott, for that update. So I'm going to call approval of item 1B, our Fire Marshal's report for December 2024. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott. We're going to move on now to Jessica Bartow for the emergency medical our medical service chief for December of 2024.
Hello, how
Hi.
is everybody tonight?
Good evening, Jessica.
Yes,
So real quick, some people may or may not know, Montgomery County Department of Public Safety outsourced, contracted with an outside agency to have a study done on Montgomery County EMS in crisis. And they had a brief overview meeting in regards to the report and what they found. Unfortunately, again, it was a brief overview report, so I was unable to get any actual actionable items. They are expecting the full 380 some page report to be out within the next few months. And at that time, I will make sure that I go through it and make sure that we are functioning at the level that we should be and contributing to the community in an effective and efficient way. Other than that, nothing else.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions at all? Commissioner Rappaport and then Commissioner Ziegler.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, in your report, it looked like the budget was looking good for this year, and over the 5 years, it looks like you've transported and received calls, responded to calls, increased by about 500 calls over that period of time. I wonder if you could just comment on those observations, please.
So in 2024, you're absolutely right. There was a budget, there was an increase in our income. The state increased Medicaid payments and made them comparable to what Medicare is paying. So 5 years ago, it would have been $180 for a BLS ambulance transport to the hospital is what Medicaid would have paid us. Now they are paying us about $400 for that same call, and as well as mileage, which is not something that they did before. So there are a large number of our patient population that is Medicaid. So we did see a significant increase in our income because of that specifically. As far as our call volume increasing, unfortunately, as our residents age, the need for EMS increases, and we are seeing a large number of patients calling more so than before. I believe in 2024, the number was about 250 calls for service to Moss Rehab. So that also caused our call volume to increase.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ziegler.
thanks. Just to follow up on that, are those Moss Rehab calls, or are those patients also Medicaid, or are they also private insurance, and there's recoverable revenue for EMS from those patients?
Both. Unfortunately, the problem is that Moss Rehab is still considered by some insurances, it is still considered a facility. So when we bill in some insurances, they will not reimburse us for our cost because it is considered to be an interfacility transport. And so we have been attempting to bill Moss Rehab. We have not gotten a whole lot of response there. I did write a payer of last resort letter and I believe forwarded it to the township manager to get legal to look at it, just so that we can maybe have something that requires them to reimburse us when insurance companies do not.
Yeah, we have Moss Rehab requesting some things from the township from a zoning standpoint and land development standpoint that I think we should probably have a discussion that adds that to the equation. So that's good. I did have give me a second. I lost my other question. It happens. Oh, yeah. Were you interviewed for the Montgomery County EMS report? Given that we have such an extensive thing, and then I'm wondering the kinds of issues that they were probing. Were they looking for county-related things, dispatch-related things, etc.? I want to get a sense of how that report is going to work to give us some guidance and to also help us start to make some decisions to support and continue EMS in the fashion that we have it.
So from the brief overview that they were giving us, it appears as though they are absolutely addressing the issue of county dispatch and the way 911 calls are being dispatched, as well as the way that the county is supporting EMS from the Department of Public Safety aspect. And they are also looking at whether or not ambulances are needed, whether or not they're being used and utilized appropriately, and whether or not the funding, because of call volume, if they are able to be supported independently or if they require township support. Now, just so you're aware, there are not a lot of townships in Montgomery County that significantly financially support their ambulance organizations. So Cheltenham Township is already leaps and bounds ahead of most of the other organizations in the county in that aspect.
Is there a particular thing that you're looking for from the county, a recommendation that can help us be more efficient in the way that they're dispatching, the urgent calls versus the transport calls and that kind of thing? And then the other thing is, how do we coordinate that with our 911 group that, our internal group, because a lot of things go to us as well as to the county.
So as far as EMS is concerned, all 911 requests for an ambulance go through Montgomery County Communications and 911 Center.
Okay.
So they are looking at making sure that the way that the calls are being dispatched, because right now the way it is set up is if you call 911 because I had a nightmare and I want the ambulance to come out to my house, they immediately dispatch an ALS 911 ambulance to your house. And let's say while I am doing that, while I am providing that service, somebody's having chest pain in our territory. Well, we're already committed to that call. So either we have another ambulance come in to cover the nightmare, or we have another ambulance come in to cover the chest pain. And is that really an appropriate use of resources? So that's one of the things that they're looking at to try to have a more detailed call taker interview to see what resources are actually needed, not just because somebody says, I want an ambulance. Okay, here's an ambulance.
Yeah, I think that triaging piece is really the most critical way to control expenses and to not allocate precious resources at a time when there's a conflict with something that's pretty much less significant. So thanks, Jess. And obviously, I think it's really important for us to take a stand with the county should they look at everybody under a single focus rather than the few of us who have very, complete EMS services and need them to look at us differently or treat us a little differently based on our commitment to that service. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Jess. Seeing no other questions, I'm going to call for the approval of item 1C. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We're going to move along to Emergency Management Coordinator, Mr. Hillendahl. I see you're on. Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Good evening. Just
Good evening.
two quick things from the report. One is just want to thank the board for their support of the community policing / emergency management / command vehicle. It has been invaluable in this weather. I know it's in the report, but I just wanted to echo that. I'm sure the chief feels the same way. It is not even finished, and it has really lived up to what we needed it for, and we could not have gotten the resources that quickly from the county. So thank you for that. The other thing that is in the report that we are working on that we'll get you more details next month is that in light of what occurred in New Orleans, we are looking at protecting our residents and our staff in a upgraded manner for large-scale events. We think that is necessary for the future, and thank the chief and his team, been working with myself and Kim and others to get that in place before the first large event of the year. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Ziegler-Feld, you
I'm
are.
sorry I'm being persistent today,
You
Mr. Chairman. So Ken, you had mentioned, I think in one of our discussions, that you were still working on the radio and communications piece with that vehicle. Has that been resolved yet?
Oh yeah, we have what we need. It's a matter of time to get stuff installed, and Lieutenant O'Neill is working on that quickly. But I mean, it is usable now. It'll be even more usable then. I don't know if the chief has a better update, but I believe we have most of the parts that we need. We just need to get them installed.
Yeah, Commissioner, we have met. This is exactly what I intended when this vehicle was purchased using asset forfeiture funding. Try to make that a township asset that we could use for every department we have here in the event of a major incident, from a water main break to a house fire to a major event on our end, a police event on our end. So far it's meeting the bill. We've met shortly after our last deployment with the truck. There's a group of individuals getting together to try to see what we need to move forward with this. But we have whatever equipment we need right now. In the event the vehicle's called out, we could certainly put it in service. So it's been the 3 events that I'm aware of. Ken, is that correct? It's been the 3 of them so
Yes,
far. And I want this to be a billboard for Cheltenham Township as well, and it'll be at all community events, and it'll be highly as much as I can get it out into the public as well. So this is what I was hoping it would work out as, and it's so far so good with this, and we'll continue to upgrade that with equipment that we think will help us in to handle emergencies as they arise. So far so good on that front.
And Commissioner, just to add to that, one of the things we're learning through the Eastern Montgomery County group that we're a step ahead. People who are relying 100% on county resources in a single emergency where it's just you, no problem. But
yeah,
it takes longer in a major emergency like a snowstorm or a tornado. We feel confident that we can handle what we need. Interesting, one of the events that it went to was a nursing home evacuation. And we've learned a lot from that. We have 7 nursing homes. There have been 4 evacuations of nursing homes in the county in the last 4 weeks. So in addition to helping people, we're learning stuff that will benefit us.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Norris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, I'm not asking that you provide details, but since Mr. Hillendahl mentioned a large-scale event, I'm assuming that you're prepared for any contingencies from this Friday's 1 million, perhaps, parade, any overflow that might come our way.
Yes, sir. This is a regional event, and not just a Cheltenham event. Obviously, we're partners in our region with that. With SEPTA, the Philadelphia Police Department, Montgomery County has also provide assets to them as well. SEPTA has finally announced their train routes.
Yep.
For our area. Jenkintown train station will be the hub to get to the parade. It's posted on our website. Jenkintown train station will be open. That seemed to work good. The last celebratory parade we had, where they had opened that area for inbound traffic only into the city, and then outbound traffic at the end of this event as well. So we'll have additional personnel in the area there to monitor the crowds. Obviously, one thing, parking issues and those things that may arise or anything else that comes up. Cheltenham Police will also have a contingency out there as well. They handle issues on the other side of the street. So we are part of that Montgomery County response plan as well for the parade. And I'm hoping for a peaceful and successful event.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Well, Chief, I was going to bring this up at old business, but to piggyback on that, how did we do in the township in reference to after the game was over in that particular day on Sunday?
Yeah, no major incidents in Cheltenham Township, thankfully. Montgomery County MERT was activated to several communities around us. Some spots have a history of being a focal point following a victory, and those communities had seen crowds come out to celebrate. Some minor issues in Abington, minor issues in Lansdale and Hatboro I'm aware of, but nothing outrageous. We had resources in place. We had additional personnel in place in the event. Things had popped up here as well where we were ready to go. So thankfully, it was positive celebration from my standpoint. The city saw some issues that maybe weren't so peaceful, but for the most part, everything went well.
So Commissioner Ziegler-Felt was not on the poll.
No, but I
we
was on
don't
the
have to grease any
garbage
polls
truck.
just yet. Yeah, if I come to you for that, you can give me, wait a minute.
I think that's in the emergency management.
There you go.
All right, so I don't think we approved Ken's report for tonight. All those in favor of item 1D?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 2, there was no committee meetings for January. Any old business for tonight for public safety? And are there any new business for public safety? Citizens Forum for public safety. Darlene, Ms. Milton? Go ahead.
Mute. Good evening, everyone. I just have a few things. Again, I always thank our chief for giving extra patrols in different areas. I'm still waiting for the Citizens Auxiliary Group to come back. And no, I cannot become a police officer, but I can take a camcorder because I go out at all different times. So remember a while back we had a problem with Chick-fil-A? I know we got a new one, but around 9:30 earlier this week, 9:30 p.m., I guess when they were getting ready to close, people are still making a second line, which actually blocks that street that comes from Chick-fil-A. It's supposed to be a two-way lane, but people are coming from that little parking area to go straight instead of going and following the entrance to get into the drive-thru. So I wanted to bring that back up to your attention. A neighbor came to me to ask me the question, because there's been some abandoned cars. And again, it's private property. And all I'm going to say is they've been there for 3 years. I told the neighbor, I don't know. I couldn't tell you who owns them, but my feeling about this as a citizen, if I can't keep not unauthorized, what's the word I'm looking for? An unoperable car in my driveway or in front of my house, I don't see how a business or anyone that owns private property can keep abandoned cars. And let's see. Oh,
Hey, Darlene,
and
can I stop you there?
sure.
Would you provide that location of those address either to your commissioner or to me? And then
You
we
can
could
call me as well, Darlene, with that.
Yeah,
I was
just
just gonna
give,
say that.
we need an address. So just, you don't have to do it now.
Okay.
That-
Okay.
to the
I
chief.
don't want to use up my 3 minutes. Now the last one is Penrose Avenue. Am I correct that that's a state street? Or is that a Cheltenham road? In regards to maintenance and paving and maybe putting lines. And the reason I'm asking, it goes back to if I had a camcorder, I was going to south right there at the corner, we've been having accidents at Cheltenham and Penrose. It's only 2 lanes, north and south. But this woman decided that she wanted to make a left-hand turn on the Cheltenham Avenue and decided to make a 3rd lane. Now, again, I was so upset. She had came in front of me to the point I could get her license plate. But the fear that I had sitting there is that if someone came to make a right hand turn to come north on Penrose, they would have hit her because she'd have made a 3rd lane on Penrose. Now, Penrose doesn't have any yellow lines, you know, that most big streets have. So my question is basically, is that for something that PennDOT would do? So we give a visual to the riders that this is a 2 lane, not a 1 lane, because they do that too. But you just can't just make another lane just because you want to make a turn. So
I don't believe
I'm done.
I don't believe Penn Road is a state road at all. No, so that's something that, again, Darlene, reach out to me with that. And
Okay.
I'm making some notes, and I'll talk to Bo and our township manager about maybe doing some striping on Penrose.
Okay. And hi Jeff, I see you're there. I said I wanted to talk to you. I still do. But we'll talk some other time. Okay.
Right. Thank you,
Thank you.
DMK, you have your hand up?
Yes, that's David Michael Kenny, and I'm wanting to speak to the point of the Wawa at Easton Road and Waverly. We have those wonderful orange barricades there. I am now in possession of 4 of them that have been knocked out of place. I've been trying to put them back on occasion, but I think it's because people decide they're still going to make a left-hand turn illegally into the Wawa on Waverly, and they run them over. So my question is, where can I turn in these 4 orange stanchions that maybe they can get put back? And what can we do about trying to keep those prohibited left turns from happening?
Sir, this is Chief Slavin. You can
Yes.
contact me direct. I can make arrangements to pick them up from you tomorrow. We'll take care of that end of it. Wawa has been on our list to address this issue. Those markers that you spoke of are part of the design we put in place to try to head this off as well. There's a couple other items still in play here as far as moving traffic and controlling traffic flow in and out of that property, and that's still in the works right now with the county and PennDOT as well. So we are taking other efforts to look at that. I'll have a car check on that location again. I've been out there myself and seen it. That's why we took the next step to put these traffic little ballards in there so people see that and deterred from turning left. There's new signage that had been put in. We'd met with the owner of that property as well, who has agreed to step up and help us with some of these things as well. So there's a lot at play still to address this. I know it's not to everyone's satisfaction, and people are still doing it, I'm sure. But we're taking steps to that. If you can call me tomorrow, I'll have an officer come out and pick them up, and we'll make sure they get the public works.
Okay, that or I'll
Excuse
drop
me.
them off to you. Thank you much.
Okay, sir.
Commissioner Army.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kenny, just to piggyback on what the chief provided, that location is very much on our radar screen. We are constantly working on ways to improve the traffic flow there. One way we're working with PennDOT on the Easton Road side of it to make the ingress and egress a little easier there, so that perhaps it diverts some of the traffic from Waverly. But we're also focused on Waverly to find the best strategy to reduce the illegal turns there. And I know the chief and Cheltenham Township Police have been there. But I agree. We need, and the chief sounds like the chief is going to focus there a little bit. We need to have some enforcement. We recently passed I think we passed an ordinance that addresses that specific issue, so which gives the police department a little more leverage on the enforcement side as well. So to be continued on that particular site.
Thank you, Commissioner Arman. I'm not seeing any more hands up. I'm going to call for the adjournment of tonight's public works meeting, public safety meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.